we think failure is great because you learn something new every single day, and really be close to customers and close to opportunities and listen. And I think having the humility to understand that you're probably wrong most of the time and you just got to keep trying until you're right.
Today we have Ben Hutt, the CEO and Managing Director of Evergen. Welcome, Ben.
G'day, Ryan. Lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We're interested. What does Evergen do?
So Evergen is a software business founded around the transition to renewables in the energy system. So it began life in 2016 when it became clear that batteries in homes and in electric vehicles and elsewhere in the grid would be a part of a renewable powered energy grid. I took over as CEO 3 years ago now with a slightly grander vision to have Evergen really connecting all sorts of devices across the energy system. So everything now from solar farms all the way through to networks and retailers and thousands of homes and businesses. And really the kind of vision is that as we transition away from a very predictable coal-fired energy system, which is obviously very bad for the planet, there'll be a massive increase in renewables, which we require because we need probably 3 to 5 times as much electricity in 10 years than we do today because of the electrification of everything that's going on. And what Evergen does is it connects devices, whether they be things in homes like air conditioners or hot water or pool pump or EV chargers, and solar and battery systems with the energy system at large to make energy as cheap for everyone as possible.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. And so, how did you stumble into that? How did you get started?
Well, the business was founded through a project between CSIRO and AMP Capital, who's a large infrastructure investor, and they own chunks of some of the network businesses around Australia and New Zealand. Really is a science experiment around disrupting what was happening in the grid. And when I got involved, like my background is in solving big problems in corporates, where I spent, for example, 6 years at Macquarie and worked in consulting around the world for a long time, but really at the intersection of technology and disruption. So like I'm pretty old, so I saw kind of the dot-com boom and bust and was involved in a bunch of things around that. But I've spent most of the last 10 years building and helping other people build software businesses that disrupt traditional business models. And so when I was asked to join and run Evergen and help it fulfill its potential, I could really see that software was eating the world in many ways. And we now know this. So things like marketplace industries and things like Uber eating the taxi industry. Like there's a bunch of pretty common things around that. And I couldn't see any reason why software couldn't really disrupt infrastructure, which to some extent we do now. Like, so by controlling everything from solar farms all the way to thousands of homes using software with no hardware involved. Like I don't need to send an electrician to your house to connect your house to whatever Gen does. Like I think it's a very much needed transition in the way infrastructure works that must be achieved to support a transition to renewables, which is obviously the most important thing at the moment with global warming and climate change and all of these things that we can no longer deny.
Yeah, which is a phenomenal goal. And so then, Ben, where do you think that you bring the most value to the marketplace with this technology?
So since I was a kid, I believe that people make the world go round, and where Evergen adds value to our many stakeholders, from thousands of consumers through to network operators, electricity retailers, asset owners who own solar farms, is really in all of our products. There's a very, very high degree of complexity, but customer centricity. So our 7,000 or 8,000 consumers love Evergen because they know that we've got their back and we're ensuring the performance of their asset for a long time. Our installer partners who sell and install battery systems all around Australia every day, they sell them with Evergen because they know Evergen makes their lives easier and makes their assets perform better. Our retailers and sort of institutional investors trust Evergen because they know that we make a financial difference to how their assets perform and we insure them against risk. So it's a complex business because we have lots of stakeholders, but the core thing is that we're very, very, very focused on what our customers need. And with software, we can deploy solutions and evolve solutions very rapidly to deal with deal with customer requirements. And that's really what we've done. And I think Evergen's whole success over the last few years has been made possible really only through the team. And that's not just the 50 or 60 people around the world that work in Evergen. It's all of our partners, all of our consumers, all of the hardware manufacturers we partner with. It really is almost like starting a movement. It's not really just a business. It's like climate change requires collaboration, not just within the industry, but across the nation and across the globe. And I think the attitude we've brought to the problem is very much that by collaborating, we can make something great that makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And so, what are a couple of things that have really given you kind of, I guess, uh, the most dramatic growth levers for you to be able to pull and go, yeah, great. By doing these couple of things, we've really been able to grow the business.
It's a great question, and I mean, growth. It's all about people and motivating people to do things, and so we've done a lot of research around what consumers need to make a change and switch and invest in renewables, and also to embrace new things that we do, things like virtual power plants and other future-centric initiatives like EVs. So we've researched thousands and thousands of consumers, and we really get to the core of what drives them and motivates them and what worries them, and then we solve for that, and that leads to a real flywheel of like positive brand response and support, which leads to referrals. And obviously referrals are a great, at scale, they're a very great source of growth. And so things like caring about what your net promoter score is amongst each of your audiences is super important. And so I've mentioned we've got lots of different customers, and so each of them have a slightly different problem and slightly different need from us. And so we repeat the research, the engagement. We build products with our customers. So for each of our 5 products, the first customer or two, they're really a cornerstone customer with whom we develop a product. And then that becomes something that in SaaS land, we're now replicating those products elsewhere in the world, places like Latin America, Europe, North America. So it all begins with really finding out what someone's problem is, what the needs are, and how you can really solve things in a very kind of scalable and replicable way.
Mm. And so you're really getting that perfect match between product and market fit, essentially.
We are in some areas, and I will say it takes time. So again, Evergen it's a complex business. Like electricity is fiendishly complicated, and it's slightly different everywhere. But I will certainly say that the products we've been building around consumers and retailers in Australia, we definitely have product market fit with those now, and we're replicating them elsewhere in the world, which is great. And that's what you're supposed to do with software. Is it's like long lifetime value, high duration. And so for us, particularly where assets in the energy system could last for 25 years if it's a solar farm, or maybe 7 to 10 years if it's a battery systems in someone's house, like we build on the basis that we will be client slash customer relationship for the life of those assets, which means we really need to get things right. But again, being agile with software, every 2 weeks we can change things. So I think recognizing that nothing's ever stationary, um, I think that gives us the edge and the ability for our customers to really feel heard and understood.
Yeah, great. And so for you, what have you found to be one of the most challenging things about growing?
Oh, there's so many challenging things, and again, part of it comes back to energy being a very complex space to build a business. Um, and I think in our space, regulatory uncertainty is challenging because it brings into question what the investment rationale is for different types of technologies. So, as an obvious example, Australia has a very negligent policy around electric vehicles. Whereas if you compare it to somewhere like the UK, as an example, or bits of Europe, where like 65% of new cars that are sold in parts of Europe are now electric, whereas in Australia, we're a long way from that. As I think it's a policy, government policy, and regulation has a massive influence over how things and how quickly things happen in energy. And I think that's been a problem not just for us, but for people deploying billions of dollars around infrastructure. So that's definitely a problem.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a challenge. And so then, in light of, I guess, some of this experience, what advice would you give to a business owner or CEO who really wants to break through to their next level?
Oh, just you're never done learning. So I've always believed that curiosity and failure and just trying new things is really super important. We learn every day. Like we have a like fail fast. It sounds like a very frequently said thing, but we think failure is great because you learn something new every single day, and really be close to customers and close to opportunities and listen. And I think having the humility to understand that you're probably wrong most of the time and you just got to keep trying until you're right. That's something that we practice and it's definitely held us in good stead. And I think given that people make the world go round, having a super clear purpose and value set that you can work with within your company, but also we use our values to choose partners and choose customers and choose shareholders, like it's super important. And it really allows people to get on board and know why you're trying to do what you're doing rather than just what you're doing.
Mm, yeah, great. And so, Ben, if you could go back a few years to kind of, the beginning, what advice would you give yourself at that point?
I think every time I build a company, the one thing that always stands out as something, a trap that we always fall into is trying to do too many things simultaneously. It's like focus, focus, focus. Avoid the temptation for shiny new things that are peripheral to what you're actually needing to do. And we're pretty good at it, but there are some days where I wake up and I think, wow, we've got way too many things on, particularly when you start trying to grow internationally from Australia. Like it's a pretty taxing experience. So that would be the thing, just focus and just focus on excellence.
Yeah, great. I love that. Finally, Ben, who can you best help, and if they want to get in touch, how can they reach out?
Well, obviously, like with Evergen, we're happy to help homeowners, businesses, anyone that wants free or cheap energy and wants to get on the renewable energy transition. We're happy to help with that. And it's a collaborative sport. From a personal perspective, like I'm passionate about helping people grow and helping people start and grow big ideas. So feel free to hit me up.
Yeah, wonderful. Is the Evergen website the best place to reach out to you, or is it somewhere else?
Evergen website, LinkedIn, you'll find me. Pretty easy to find. And yeah, always happy to take a call or receive an email. And we help. Like it's a team sport. We always think collaboration is essential to disruption, and there's nothing harder to disrupt than the energy system. So, and we must do it. Like it's not optional. Let's do it together.
I love that. Yeah, you're on an absolute mission. Well, Ben, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate the value that you've been able to bring.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ben.